Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another Thursday morning bite-sized Buhl. My name is Kayla. I'm the staff educator here at the Buhl Planetarium at the Carnegie Science Center. Thank you so much for joining me on this chilly winter morning. We have an amazing tour planned for you today. We are using the program Stellarium, which is a free software that you can download at home on your computer or on your phone. If you happen to have it downloaded and have it pulled up, my settings are set to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania tonight at 7 o'clock. So feel free to follow along, or you can use this as a little guide later on. Now we are currently looking towards our northern sky. This is my favorite place to start when we are stargazing because it helps us get our bearings. Looking up at the sky, there are two very famous asterisms or star pictures that you can find. Now this time of year, very low on the horizon, we will see 6 very bright stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is a shape you may know as the Big Dipper, or the big spoon in our sky. I like to call the Big Dipper our guide asterism here because it will be our guide when we star hop to other stars in the sky. There's one star in particular that the Big Dipper is very handy at finding. To locate it, we're going to use these outer 2 stars in the bowl of the Dipper. Their names are Merak and Dubhe. Now to find our star, we're going to draw a line from Merak to Dubhe and continue it out into space about 5 times the width of those stars, and you'll land here. This is one of the most important stars in our nighttime sky. You may know it as the North Star. Its official name is Polaris, or our pole star. Now it looks very bright on our computer screen here, just because of the settings in our Stellarium software. But in our night sky, this star is fairly dim. Without the help of the Big Dipper, you could easily overlook it. But once we locate this star, we now know which direction we are facing. We now know that we are facing the northern sky. And once we find north, we can find our other directions. If we are looking north, directly behind you is going to be the south. To your right will be the east, and to your left will be the west. Now Polaris makes up the handle of another asterism in our sky, one that we call the Little Dipper, or the Little Spoon. Now asterisms are a little different than constellations. Asterisms are star pictures that anyone can make up. They're different depending on where you are around the world. Here in the United States, we all agree that the Big and Little Dipper look like spoons. But if you travel to England, they saw the Big Dipper as a plow. In China, they saw it as the emperor's cart. It became very hard for early astronomers to share information because we were all calling the same region of the sky by a different name. Until the International Astronomical Union made a map of our sky. They divided it into 88 different regions that almost looked like a giant puzzle in the sky. Each region became home to an official constellation that would be recognized by astronomers worldwide. So no matter who we were talking to, when we used the name of a constellation, we would tell what part of the sky they were looking in. And while the Big and Little Dipper were not promoted to that official constellation status, they are inside of constellations. For our Big Dipper, the handle of our dipper becomes a tail, We add a few legs, and we now have Ursa Major, the big bear. And if we have a big bear, you may be able to guess what we will find right next door. Our Little Dipper becomes the constellation Ursa Minor, the little bear. Now there's a few more constellations that I love to show our visitors here in the northern sky. These are constellations that we can see all year round. We call them circumpolar constellations. Here in Pittsburgh, they will never set below the horizon. So let's see if we can find a few more of those constellations. Very high in the sky, you'll see what looks like a giant M. This is Cassiopeia, the queen of the night. And right next door to our queen, we will see 5 little stars that kind of look like a sideways house or maybe a home plate. This is Cepheus, the king of the night. Now that we've found a few constellations we can see all year round, let's take a tour of our winter sky. Let's take a look at our seasonal constellations. Now our sky in the north is pretty much always the same. So to see those seasonal constellations, let's take a quick spin to the south. And here we are. This is where all of the action happens throughout the year. This is my favorite time of year to look up because there are so many bright and beautiful stars, but also some pretty amazing objects that we can see. Now the summer sky, while it has pretty warm weather, its stars tend to be a little more boring to look at. Now looking towards the south, I'm sure a few of you have already spotted the most famous constellation. He's very easy to spot. You just need to find the 3 stars that form his belt. This is Orion the Hunter. Now Orion is considered a winter constellation because he appears in our early evening sky in December, and he sticks around with us until the end of March, early April. Now, Orion is home to 2 very bright and beautiful examples of stars. Located in his shoulder is this bright red star named Betelgeuse. You don't want to say that 3 times. And located in his knee is a blue star named Rigel. Now, when we see a star's color, we learn a little bit more about that star. Which do you think is hotter, the red star or the blue star? Here on Earth, we tend to label everything that's hot, think of your kitchen sink, as red. But when we're talking in terms of stars, red stars are actually fairly cool. Betelgeuse is about 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit on its surface. Rigel is much hotter. It's about 20,000 degrees Fahrenheit on its surface. Now, where does our sun fall? Well, it's not quite as cold as a red star, and it's not quite as hot as a blue star. It falls somewhere in the middle. On average, our sun is about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit on its surface, which is still really hot. Now, Orion is not just home to 2 very bright and beautiful examples of stars, it's also home to what we call a deep sky object. This is an object that is outside of our solar system that we can spot using just our eyes. If you happen to have a telescope at home or a powerful pair of binoculars, you'll get an even more spectacular view. And to find our first deep sky object tonight, we're going to imagine that Orion has a sword hanging off of the middle star in his belt. The bottom of the sword would be halfway between his belt and his knees. It's going to fall somewhere in here. This is where we will see a very faint light. Now, the light that you are seeing is actually the Orion Nebula. Nebula are huge collections of gas and dust in space, and they can be trillions of miles across. The Orion Nebula is a stellar nursery. This is an area where little baby stars are being born. Stars are born when gas and dust in space gets pulled together by gravity. It grows more massive and hotter until eventually a little star is born. And if you're lucky, soon after, a solar system can form. Now, Orion, much like the Big Dipper in our northern sky, is a great guide to other stars in our southern sky. If we draw a line down through the belt of Orion, and we continue it down into space, very close to the horizon, we will see this bright star. This star's name is Sirius. It's found inside of Canis Major, the big dog. Now, Sirius is actually the brightest star in our night sky. And this time of year, when there's not too many clouds, it makes for a spectacular view. This star twinkles very rapidly in our night sky, so it makes it very easy to spot. Now, swinging up from Sirius, we will come to a star named Procyon. Procyon is one of two stars found inside of Canis Minor, the little dog. Now, if we continue an arcing motion through our sky, we will come to two more bright stars. Their names are Pollux and Castor. Pollux and Castor were twin brothers in Rome, and they are perfectly named for this constellation, Gemini, the twins. Now, swinging back on over towards Orion here, right above him, we're going to come to a bright red star named Aldebaran, which translates to the Eye of the Bull. It's found inside of Taurus, the Bull. Now, on the back of our Bull, we will find another deep sky object. This one is much easier to see. It almost looks like a teeny tiny dipper. It's a collection of what appears to be 6 or 7 stars, depending on how good your eyesight is. In ancient times, we called these the 7 sisters. But today, we know there are not 6 or 7 stars in this region. There are thousands. This is what we call the Pleiades. It is an open star cluster. Sometimes when stars are forming, they will be pulled together by gravity and move across the universe, kind of like a family. Now, the gravity amongst these stars is actually very weak, so they're beginning to spread out and away from each other. And someday, in our very distant future, the 7 sisters will be spread across our night sky. But for now, we have a very spectacular view of them. We can see this beautiful blue glow. That glow we are seeing is what we call a reflection nebula. The light from the stars is bouncing off of gas and dust in space, creating that beautiful wintry haze. Now, Orion, Taurus, Gemini, Canis Major, and Canis Minor make up what we call the winter hexagon. We can see the winter hexagon all the winter long. And it's made up of all of those bright and beautiful stars. There's one more object that I would like to show you that you can spot tonight at 7 o'clock. Now, the winter hexagon is rising throughout the winter, so it's towards our eastern sky. If you spotted Orion, look towards the opposite horizon, so towards the west, very close to the horizon at 7 o'clock, you're going to see another very bright light. Now, you may notice something a little special about this light. Unlike the stars, it does not appear to be twinkling. Stars that are very far away from us, as their light enters our atmosphere causes it to wiggle, which causes a twinkle in your eye. But objects that are much closer, like this object, do not appear to twinkle as their light enters our atmosphere. This object that we are seeing very close to the horizon is actually the largest planet in our solar system, Jupiter. Jupiter is a gas giant that is 10 times as wide as the Earth. It's made of mostly hydrogen and helium gas, very similar to what our sun is made out of. And Jupiter is known for its great red spot. And if you happen to be using a telescope tonight, look towards the top of Jupiter here, right where my mouse is, and you can spot that great red spot just on the side there. That great red spot is a giant storm that's been raging for hundreds of years. But scientists have determined the storm is actually beginning to shrink. It used to measure 3 Earths wide. Now it's just slightly bigger than 1 Earth. Scientists believe this is happening as the speed is picking up on Jupiter. Much like a figure skater who's about to do a spin, she will start with her arms out to her sides, and as she picks up speed, you may notice she brings her arms in and stretches them up. We think the same thing is happening to the spot on Jupiter. As the speed is picking up, the storm is not as wide, but it's actually growing taller through Jupiter's atmosphere. We're going to zoom back out now. Now we've gotten to take an amazing tour of our winter sky. There are so many more objects to see. Our sky is filled with 88 different constellations that we can see. Looking up, we can see thousands of stars, faraway nebulas and clusters. With telescopes, we can spot a whole lot more. But this does bring us to the end of our tour today. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this little tour. And we will see you again next week at Thursday morning at 10:30 for another bite-sized Buhl. We are also doing an initiative here at the Buhl Planetarium called Take a Seat Under the Stars. You can learn more about that initiative in the description box down below. Thank you so much for joining me today. Stay warm, everyone, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.